This edition of FedGov Today with Francis Rose is sponsored by HashiCorp Federal and Carasoft. Today, the Defense Department's Thunderdome hits the gas pedal, the cloud conundrum for the Pentagon, and the Air Force makes a big investment in Zero Trust. Welcome to FedGov Today with Francis Rose. The Defense Information Systems Agency says its big cybersecurity project is ready for prime time. The director of DISA, Lieutenant General Robert Skinner, says his agency will scale Thunderdome after a successful prototyping phase. At AFCEA's TechNet Cyber this week, I asked General Skinner for an overview of Thunderdome.
So Thunderdome in and of itself is our Zero Trust instantiation and our Zero Trust framework of what DISA is going to provide, not only to DISA, but to the entire department as they'd like. Mm-hmm. So what we've done is we've kind of broken up into I'll say, three different areas. One is kind of SD-WAN, SASE, and CHES are kind of the three key areas of where our network infrastructure will be laid out. We had a prototype that we just finished, met all of the requirements, and so we are working now with the department to go into full-fledged production. Mm-hmm. Now, the one thing that I want to make sure we highlight is it's not just a prototype. When I talk Thunderdome, it is everything that we're talking about from a DISA offering for Zero Trust, mm-hmm. Which is kind of I'll say it's the buzzword, but it's where everyone's trying to go. It's the journey that everyone's on, mm-hmm. is to improve our cyber posture and our cybersecurity. Mm-hmm. And so we also add on to that Comply to Connect, identity management, which if you saw the keynote, Gabe Solomon, who is our 20-year-old leading the effort when it comes to global directory, mm-hmm. and our identity management, he's in charge of that. And so we package all those together. And if you look at the DoD strategy for Zero Trust, they have like 153 different key activities that they want you to meet, and we're at about 131 of those, mm-hmm. in our overall offering. So it's a great capability that will soon be a theater near you.
What's the intersection between the efforts that you are undertaking on Thunderdome already and the Zero Trust strategy that CIO Sherman rolled out earlier this year?
It's actually, it comes together real well, because the strategy is kind of just documenting a lot of things that we've already been doing and that we've been working towards. Mm-hmm. And so it just kind of puts a bow around everything that the department wants us to achieve by 2027 and then further on as we continue that journey.
So I read Thunderdome proved with real users the solution works. DISA onboarded approximately 1,500 test users at 3 locations. What were you trying to learn there that enabled you to say, yes, this works, and we want to take it, we want to scale it?
We were really looking for, does the technology work together? And so working with our integrator, bringing all this together at 3 different locations, because you don't just want one, and about 1,500 is what we thought would be the kind of the low point of, if this works, mm-hmm. this is what we need, this will show it. Mm-hmm. And then we just kind of build from there.
Yeah, what did you learn from that test or prototype that enabled you to say, we like this, we want to do this full scale?
Actually, the performance.
Just that, yeah.
And when we compared the performance of what we have today from whether you're on-prem in an office location or even at home, mm-hmm. people actually had better performance leveraging this technology and these capabilities, mm-hmm. as well as better cybersecurity. And so one of our LOEs is how do we harmonize cybersecurity and user experience. Mm-hmm. This actually brought both of those together and much better than what we are today.
Yeah, I was going to be my next question. What kind of feedback you got from the people that you used the prototype with to determine how transparent it was to the end user, how they felt using it?
Much better performance.
Yeah.
What was the bottom line? And they're able to go access the applications that they need to. We use both performance metrics, but also from a user experience, mm-hmm. we ask them, hey, how was your experience? How was it compared to what it was before we put you in the prototype? And almost every single one of them said, much better performance, much better user experience. And then when we looked at our network administrators, the security was even better.
Mm-hmm. How is it built to flex so that as requirements change, as the threat landscape changes, as applications change, you don't have to go back and retool it every time?
It's module-based.
Yeah.
And so we have different technologies that we're bringing together, and it's modules and it's scalable. Mm-hmm. So we can start depending on which locations, depending on which theaters, depending on the number of people, all that can play in the calculus of how much technology you need at a particular place. Mm-hmm. And if say you have a mission that comes to a particular location, then you can actually expand that with either the existing technology or you can add to it. Because a lot of it's cloud-based, and so it's kind of on-demand capabilities.
I want to shift gears for a minute. I saw you at AFCEA DC's DISA lunch not too long ago, and you talked about 3 Ps there as far as interacting with industry. Walk me through those 3 Ps, because I think it was a pretty succinct, concise way to talk about how you want to interact with the vendor base.
And the 3 Ps are posture, position, and partnerships. And posture is really taking a look at ourselves and go, where do we stand in relation to our cyber posture? That includes technology, that includes our processes, that includes our people. And then the position is, now how do we position those pieces? It's almost like a chessboard. And how do you position those pieces in order to get the most effective bang for the buck? So posture is kind of where you sit today. The positioning is, where do we want to go to and how do we want to move those? And then we cannot do anything without partnerships. And this is partnerships within the department. It's partnerships with industry. It's partnerships with our allies and partners. If you think about today, and people see on Signal Magazine, the relationship between a DoD CIO and U.S. Cyber Command, it is the best that it's been in my 38-year career. Because John Nakasone and Honorable Sherman are just that tight. And we actually have a 0700 meeting every Monday morning where we all sit down together. They make sure that they're on the same page, and then we follow that direction. And so it's those partnerships that really make it well what it is.
So for posture, you've kind of described where you want to go with Thunderdome, and particularly in Zero Trust. What else is encompassed in that posture piece?
Actually, part of it is the people. And our Workforce 2025 is our kind of effort to really get after how do we refactor our workforce to make sure they have the right education, the right understanding, the right training, and the right skill sets to get after the future threat. And so when we bring that together, starting from how do we hire, how do we retain, and then how do we professionally develop, that's what our Workforce 2025 is, and that force is part of the calculus when we look at how we posture, and also how do we position our force.
Well, and that's where I wanted to go next, because that's important to that positioning, I imagine, to move those pieces of the board where you want them to be. People have to have the capabilities to make those moves.
Yes,
Use that chess.
They have to know what their capabilities are, and then as leaders, we have to know and understand what their capabilities are so we can move them in the right place. And we know what the gaps and shortfalls are, because not every single individual knows every single thing, and we understand that. So we got to make sure that we understand what their expertise is and that we can fully leverage, because at the end of the day, we want to empower our workforce and that innovative spirit that they have each and every day. How do we unleash that? Because that, to me, at the end of the day, it's not the technology that's going to make us successful, it's the people. And the people who understand how technology can solve our complex problems, those are the national treasures.
As you undertook the Workforce 2025 work to bring it together, and you assessed where your workforce was, what did you not have or not have enough of that you want to have at some future point?
I'd say that the foundational thing that we want more of is critical thinkers. Now, how you make a critical thinker and how you make them better, we're still working through that. But at the end of the day, it is such a complex environment out there today that we need critical thinkers to solve those complex problems. The other aspect I'd say is data. And how do we better leverage data? And so whether it's data scientists, being able to leverage them so we understand how to look at the data. We're collecting so much data in our enterprise. We have sensors in a whole bunch of different places. And now how do we take that and be able to look at that data and find out that needle in the haystack of where there's a potential adversary or where there's a potential vulnerability that we need to shore up. Or there may be a misconfiguration to where we need to improve that to improve the user performance.
We have about a minute left. I want to talk about partnerships. What makes a good partner for DISA?
Trust. First and foremost, it's got to be trust. We have to be able to trust you, and you have to be able to trust us that we know what we're doing and that we are going to deliver. That's first and foremost. And then presence matters. Being together, being in the fight, whether it's a good fight or it's a not so good fight, being there together. So I think presence, and it can be virtual, but being present there and understanding. And then the third one is being able to take everything away and go, what is the problem that we're trying to solve, and let's solve it together. You may have had an issue, I may have had an issue, but let's put that to the side and go, how do we fix the environment every day? And then kind of coming together to go, what's the problem of the future that we need to get after? And then from an industry standpoint and partnership, don't steal Gabe, Solomon.
General Skinner, thanks very much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.